Am I the asshole for refusing to let my friend's son play with my brother? This happened last week and people are still bugging me about it. Escalation context. My friend, Amy, has a son, Alex. Alex and my brother are very close in age. My brother has anxiety due to some trauma from his dad. Because of this he has a special stuffed toy that he doesn't let anyone play with, big Sonic plushie. Now 2 weeks ago during the first, and only meeting, Alex had started taking my brother's Sonic multiple times and laughed when my brother started crying. I would take the Sonic from Alex, giving it back to my brother. Alex would leave for 5 minutes then come back and take it again. I had asked Amy repeatedly to tell Alex to stop, but she just laughed it off saying my brother need to grow up. We were supposed to be there for an hour but we left after Alex ripped one of the arms off of Sonic. My brother had a full-blown panic attack. It took me a while to calm him down, all while Amy was telling Alex to ignore my brother's temper tantrum. I left after then and told my brother I would never let Alex near him again. So last week Amy called me to ask me if we could set up another playdate since Alex wanted to play with my brother. I flat out told her no. She of course asked me why and I told her that Alex is insensitive to other children and she does nothing to stop or correct his behavior. She scolded at me and told me my B to her just needed to man up. I replied with a simple if Alex and her wouldn't be considerate of other children's boundaries then I would no longer allow her or Alex near my brother. Amy got mad and tried to argue with me but I just hung up. She then went on to Facebook to rant about how I'm a cruel witch to her son and how I baby my brother to the point where he's spoiled. I've gotten constant messages from friends or acquaintances of hers saying I should let them play together. I don't feel like I'm the asshole but I would like to know if I am the asshole for refusing to let Alex near my brother? Extra. I did manage to do surgery on Sonic so he has his arm back. Little brother is happy. Update. So I do want to take a second to thank everyone for giving me some advice on how to deal with this situation, so I want to give you all an update. 1. First I decided to talk to Amy first about her behavior. Sadly this didn't go over very well as she still stuck by her guns saying I was in the wrong and proceeded to call me names and insult me saying I don't know what it's like to be a parent because I don't have kids and that I would be a terrible parent blah blah blah. So I told her she had 30 minutes to take down her Facebook post about what happened or I would take to Facebook to set records straight. Told me no one would believe me. 2. Prior to talking to Amy I took screenshots of the post just in case she really did delete the post. She didn't, so I posted my side of the story telling them what happened in the 20 minutes I'd been at her house for the playdate. I focused my post on her lack of parenting and encouragement of Alex's torment of my brother. I also made a post on my account using the screenshots just in case she deleted the post entirely after I posted my response. 3. I received a call from Amy yelling at me for manipulating what happened at her house to turn people against her. I let her run out of steam before giving her my final statement. Now that you are done throwing you temper tantrum, man up. I no longer wish to have contact with you, so lose my number as our friendship is officially over. Goodbye. 4. I sat down to talk with my brother. Now my brother normally tells us when he doesn't want to stay somewhere, so I had to ask him about the incident. Turns out he didn't want to tell me to leave because Amy was my friend and he didn't want to make me mad. Something that happened a lot with his dad when they went out. I first apologized after he told me that for not getting him out of there sooner. Then I explained to him that his needs were above that of what my friends want because he's my little brother and I'm his big sister. My job is to keep him safe. I also told him that what Alex and Amy did was wrong and that I was no longer friends with Amy because of her actions. Emphasized that it was her actions' fault. As far as I've seen and heard from my brother is that he understands. My apology acceptance was a hug from him. Thank you for the push to actually go ahead and putting a full stop to this. I did also ask my mom if she would allow me to talk with his therapist so I could get information on how to help him and to better understand how to help him going forward so that I don't have any more incidents. Not the asshole Alex is a bully and Amy is allowing it, which makes her just as bad as her kid. Thank you for sticking up for your little brother and validating his trauma. I'm sure he appreciates it. Also, I'm pushing 40 and still asleep with stuffed animals and have a favorite. Amy can stuff it. Not the asshole, however. Mild, you are the asshole for staying past the second time Alex took the toy and Amy didn't intervene. Let this be a learning experience and act sooner next time, okay? Make sure you explain the whole situation to any one of her friends who contacts you. It is beyond understandable that you wouldn't want to subject your little brother to a bully because that is what both Amy and Alex are. I will say this though, ditch Amy. She's shown her true colors, and it's only going to get worse from here. You don't need people like that dragging your life down. You can make better friends. I'm glad Sonic's surgery went well. Fabric toys can be hard to take care of. Best of luck to you and your bro-op. Not the asshole. She did not respect a traumatized 6-year-old's boundaries. She thinks her son can do what he likes. To say a 6-year-old needs to man up is toxic male culture at its worst. Look after you brother, let those messaging you know the reason and show photos of the damage to the toy, which is unacceptable. I would block the lot of them, to be honest. Not the asshole. There is a pretty big difference in maturity between 6 and 8-year-olds. Especially if 6-year-old has anxiety already. Amy is an asshole for not being more understanding of that. Not the asshole, and sounds like a good time to clear the air publicly if she's got friends, family coming after you like her flying monkeys. There seems to be a misunderstanding. I do not tolerate bullying and refuse to subject a child to torment. These people you are defending are a bully and his bully mother, who not only repeatedly abused my brother to the point of tears, but laughed in his face and told him to man up. Their behavior is unacceptable and not welcome in my home. I won't be changing my mind about this. Not the asshole. But your friend plus son is. I was forced to play with such awe until now. I, old as dust, hate the memories. P.S. Buy a new Sonic just in case. Not the asshole, you're protecting your brother. Not the asshole, drop Amy like a sack of potatoes because all of her actions in this post are location flag location flag location flag location flag. Am I the asshole for threatening to drop out as maid of honor? Update. I called my friend after reading all of these comments and told her how I felt about her behavior and her fiancé's behavior as well, and unfortunately, the decision was made for me. Neither of them want me in their wedding anymore because I'm trying to tear them apart. I cried. I grieved. And now, I'm going to take the money I've saved up for years as a future wedding gift for her, and I'm taking my husband on a vacation, and next year, we will be putting in applications for adoption if our fertility journey doesn't go where we want it to. I also want to say, thank you to every single person who commented on this, because I have received more support about my experiences in one single day than I have in the last year, and that is just such a beautiful thing to experience. I appreciate all your stories, and your kind words. Just know, it may have only been one comment on the internet for you, but for this woman, it meant the absolute world and was life-changing. Thank you. Second update. In the confrontational phone call, the fiancé admitted that their comment was about me, and that they thought I was ridiculous for waiting so long to go to the doctor for my infertility. A little backstory, I, 30F, have been married for 10 years to my husband, and a year ago, I had a really exhausting, traumatizing miscarriage after years of trying for a baby with my husband. In the aftermath, doctors told me I may be infertile forever. This news of my dream of being a mother being crushed spiraled into about a 6-month-long bout of depression and therapy. I'm doing much better now, but it's still a tender subject as I'm still going forth with medical treatments and surgeries to try and regain fertility of some sort, which I understand is my own fault, but I'm working on it. Anyway, I have a best friend, of more than a decade, about to get married to someone she's known for about a year, and I'm the maid of honor in the wedding. The spouse has always been a little standoffish of me, being really sensitive when I try to talk to my friend or get her attention. My husband has joked that the spouse thinks I'm trying to steal my friend away, but I just laughed it off and ignored it. Fast forward to a couple weeks ago. My friend and I are having a normal conversation and she mentions she's trying to sell her house, which she bought by herself years ago. This is completely out of character for her, so I immediately ask what on earth is going on to make her do that. She answers, "We can't have babies in this house." This is the first time I've heard about this in a serious tone rather than just what-if scenarios, so I say, "I didn't know y'all wanted to have kids." "That's awesome." She says, "Yeah, my spouse wants to have kids immediately after the wedding. They said we don't want to be that weird couple that waits 10 years into our marriage to have a baby." Immediately, I feel like I've been slapped in the face with a flaming bag of bricks. I'm mad. I'm sad. I'm upset. My heart is pretty much broken. So, I said, "Say that back to yourself. Don't you think that's something really weird and specific for your spouse to say?" She basically freaks out, saying I'm overreacting and their spouse would never say anything rude on purpose, and she doesn't want this to be a problem at the wedding. For reference, this is not the first time the spouse has said something that bothered me, but this was the first time that I got teared up and genuinely upset about one of the comments. So, I calmly told my best friend, I don't know if I even want to be maid of honor if this behavior towards me continues. Now, my friend, her spouse, and the families think I'm being a complete asshole about a simple little comment, and I'm kind of feeling like maybe I really was being way too sensitive. This is a nice beach is a simple little comment. I like pancakes is a simple little comment. Drive-by cruelty is not a simple little comment, and anyone who chooses to defend cruelty is an asshole. You're not the asshole for standing up to a malignant bully. That's a very oddly specific way to phrase, I don't want to wait to have kids. At the end of the day, if you aren't behind these two 100% as being a couple, probably best to bow out. NTA. This is not a simple little comment. Your friend is gaslighting you and being dismissive of your feelings, which are 100% valid. Even the emotionally inept would have known that was a cruel thing to say to someone in your situation. Not the asshole. Not the asshole in your friend sounds a bit like a ditz. If I had a friend in your situation, I would never quote that. I am sorry about your situation. I have a friend who went through a few miscarriages and now has 2 little ones now, and another friend who had to go through several procedures and is now pregnant. I truly wish the best for you. I would let your friend know just how bad her significant other makes you feel and how much you value her. Not the asshole. I would ask the friend, why does she think her future husband is trying to isolate her from her friends and trap her at home with a bunch of kids? Instead of just confirming that yes, she and fiancé did want kids and wanted to start ASAP, she chose to repeat a nasty remark he had clearly made referencing you and your struggles conceiving. Why would you want people like this in your life? You should not be in their wedding, and honestly you should seriously re-evaluate this friendship. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but your friend's spouse is. That is not a simple little comment. That was a specific aimed comment towards you. You're not overreacting, and I don't believe for 1 minute that your friend didn't realize that comment would be offensive and who it was aimed at. I wouldn't threaten to back out of the wedding, I would back out without any regrets. I also had fertility issues and a miscarriage, and you can tell the innocent but hurtful comments from the malicious ones. The spouse made an intentional comment. People think fertility is easy, and it's a personal failing if you don't succeed right away. I'm also really confused why your best friend, who knows what you went through, would repeat that part of their spouse's comment. Is she that naive? Not the asshole regardless. Take some space. Am I the asshole for not changing my schedule to accommodate my neighbor's kids? The short version. My roommate and I are both males, mid-20s and military. We have hard wood floors and inflexible early schedules. As a result, my downstairs neighbor could hear us walking around at 0500 am and confronted us about disturbing her special needs kids. We did nothing about it and she ended up moving out. The long version. Into the weeds we go. My roommate and I split the rent on a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. The apartment came with hardwood floors and a neighbor above and below us. This story starts around November of last year, when I assume my downstairs neighbor first moved in. As mentioned previously, both myself and my roommate are military and need to be at work at the latest by 0630, sometimes much earlier. This means walking around the apartment very early in the morning to get ready to leave. We don't party or blast loud music, so the sound of us moving around is really the only noise we make. At first, the neighbor voiced her disapproval by pounding on the floor, her ceiling, when she would hear us walking around. Admittedly, when she did this after 0900 I'd respond by stomping a few times. Not the most mature option, I know. She went on pounding and dropping the occasional noise complaint for several weeks until she finally confronted me. It was on a weekend, and my roommate had to rush out of the apartment at about 0600 that morning to deal with a work-related issue. I woke up an hour later to a pounding on the door. I answered it to an angry downstairs neighbor demanding that we stop stomping around and slamming doors. Apparently that it was disturbing her children. I responded by telling her that we didn't do either. What she was hearing was us walking around on hardwood floors, and I hear the same thing from our upstairs neighbor. That proved not an acceptable answer, and she threatened to call in some special needs advocacy group. I responded by, somewhat angrily, telling her that I would not, and could not, stop moving around my apartment early in the morning to accommodate her children. Over the next month or so, she proceeded to file as many noise complaints as she could against us with the apartment administration, and even got into an argument with my roommate while I was out of state visiting family. Eventually I received a call from the apartment complex informing me that if the noise complaints continued, there was a possibility for civil action. When I gave the apartment complex my side of the story, their advice was only, get some rugs, sometimes that helps. We didn't buy any rugs. Eventually the noise complaints and confrontation stopped. I found out later that she moved, but I didn't get any further details. My mentality through the whole thing had been, her kids, her responsibility, not mine. Maybe the right thing to do would have been to try and accommodate her kids better or come to a better arrangement. Am I the asshole here? Edit. Adding a few things for clarity. The 2 bedrooms are carpeted, the rest is wood flooring. At the 0500 time, I was getting ready to work out with the unit. I was always walking around in either socks or tennis shoes. I almost always stayed at work to shower and change after. Not the asshole. To be honest, the whole time I was reading this I thought, just get some rugs. But that's not a requirement. If my neighbor had gently and kindly suggested that my military shoes on my hardwood floor is louder at 5 a.m. downstairs, then maybe I realize I probably would have put some rugs down or tried not to put my shoes on until I was ready to leave the apartment. Certainly not an obligation, but I like to be neighborly. Given her choice of approach, though, I applaud you for not buying tap shoes. She seems unreasonable, but so do you. Why couldn't you get some rugs as a courtesy? I have neighbors above and below with hardwood floors, and it seems like a minimum level courtesy to have some rugs in highly trafficked areas. Just because you weren't obligated legally to do anything doesn't mean you couldn't have at least pretended to have some empathy for her and her kids. And at the same time, she sounds like a miserable neighbor banging on walls and filing unnecessary complaints. The key to these disputes is both sides trying to be reasonable and empathetic. It seems neither of you could offer up either of those things. Not the asshole. If her kids were so sensitive to the noise, she should have moved to a top-floor apartment, or rent a house. Her needs and requirements were not reasonable for an apartment building. Everyone sucks here. Getting rugs is the least you can do, and reputable buildings require them for this reason. 5 a.m. is just not reasonable regardless of your work schedule. Almost all U.S. cities have a quiet hours ordinance, and you would have certainly been in violation of it had she pursued this correctly instead of throwing tantrums. Info. Do you have any rugs? Usually apartment buildings require 80% coverage of hardwood floors. If you don't have rugs, get them. It's really necessary when living on top of each other. Not the asshole. If you don't want neighbors that walk around, don't live below other people. That said, you probably should get rugs if you are moving around at 5 a.m. Just general nice behavior if you live on top of other people. Not the asshole. People can be so entitled and want to complain about everything. You weren't tap dancing or doing anything excessive. Your landlord was ridiculous for telling you to buy rugs for what was an issue with their floors. I don't know where you live, but thank you for your service. Not the asshole. Y'all weren't doing anything but walking. It sucks that apparently the floors are so loud, but that's not really a you problem so much as building problem. Am I the asshole for not telling my boyfriend about strippers at a bachelorette party? My boyfriend and I have been together for almost 4 years. We met in college, started dating our junior year, and are part of the same friend group. A couple friends of ours were supposed to get married last summer, but had to delay it to this year. We are both in the wedding party and were invited to the bachelorette parties. During the planning for the bachelor party, my boyfriend told me that the best man wanted to go to a strip club and the groom got the go-ahead from the bride. I am very uncomfortable with strip clubs, just always have been. I am not trying to shame sex workers in any way, but strip clubs just always grossed me out. I told my boyfriend this and told him I would feel much better if he didn't participate in that part of the bachelor party. I wasn't going to tell him he can't go to the party at all, just that when other people go to a strip club, that he finds something else to do. We kind of got into a fight about it because he was worried that he would be the only one not going to the club and would therefore be alone at a bar or have to leave altogether if the rest of the party wanted to stay there for a long time. I understand that part, but I was pretty firm that I didn't want him to go to the club part of it, and he eventually relented. The parties were scheduled for the same weekend and the bachelorette party got a hotel suite for the night. Well, it turns out that the maid of honor hired a couple of male strippers to come to the room for a private show. I wasn't really comfortable with it and tried to leave, but the rest of the girls pretty much made me stay. After the parties, I asked my boyfriend how the bachelor party went, and he pretty much just said it was fun and that he hung out at a bar with another couple guys while the rest went to a strip club for an hour or so. He asked how my party went and I told him it was fun, but didn't mention the male strippers. I don't know why I didn't tell him, I just didn't. At the wedding reception a couple weeks later, I was talking with some people and noticed my boyfriend talking with a group of people in the wedding party across the room and they were all laughing except my BF. I keep looking at them and eventually my boyfriend looks at me and he's just staring daggers at me. Like, I have never seen him look at me like that before and I felt really uncomfortable. He was really cold with me the rest of the night and he ended up getting pretty drunk and passing out at the hotel as soon as we got there. On the car ride home the next day he finally opened up and told me that one of the bridesmaids had told him about the strippers and he was pissed that I would tell him not to go to a strip club and then go and hang out with male strippers in a private hotel room show. He said that was way worse than any strip club and that I was a huge asshole and hypocrite for it. He said he feels like I'm hiding something because I didn't tell him about the strippers and he doesn't believe me that nothing happened. You are the asshole. How did the other girls make you stay? Why couldn't you go to the hotel bar? And why didn't you tell your boyfriend and explain the situation? You are the asshole. How would you not be the asshole here? You made a big stink about the idea of him going to the strip club, yet you participated in the exact same thing. And then lied about it, too. Plus, I actually kind of agree that your situation is worse, private room thing versus strip club itself. Objectively, you're a hypocrite. While it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, yes, you're definitely the asshole. You are the asshole. Obviously. How are you even asking this? But the rest of the girls pretty much made me stay. No, they didn't. You could have left, but you probably put up minimal resistance and got convinced to stay incredibly easily. I don't know why I didn't tell him, I just didn't. You know exactly why you didn't tell him. He said he feels like I'm hiding something because I didn't tell him about the strippers and he doesn't believe me that nothing happened. If my partner did this to me I'd definitely be suspicious. This is a massive betrayal of trust. You are the asshole. You glossed over how the rest of the girls, pretty much made you stay. It sounds like they exerted social pressure. Of course, that was the same kind of social pressure your boyfriend faced, although he had advance notice. You asked your boyfriend to conform to your standards, but you did not conform to them yourself. Then, you committed a lie by omission by not telling your boyfriend what happened after the fact. From beginning to end you are wrong. For the record, I am not comfortable in strip clubs either. You are the asshole. You're a literal hypocrite. You didn't want your boyfriend doing something, and then you turned around and did the exact thing you didn't want him doing. No one forced you to stay, you just had zero backbone and got peer pressured into staying. Yikes. He said that was way worse than any strip club and that I was a huge asshole and hypocrite for it. Is there something in his assessment you disagree with? You are the asshole. And a hypocrite. How could you possibly not be ta? You told him he wasn't allowed to have strippers in the full knowledge there were strippers at your bachelorette party. And then didn't tell him about stating afterwards when there was a 100% chance he would find out. Made you stay, how exactly? Exactly in the same way your boyfriend didn't allow anyone to peer pressure him into going to the strip club. He doesn't believe me that nothing happened, I wouldn't believe anything you say. Everything he said is justified. You are the asshole. You chose to stay in the room with strippers. Unless they tied you up, knocked you out, or put a gun to your head, you were not forced to stay. You could have chosen to leave. You chose to lie, by omission, to your boyfriend. You were hiding things from him, and he's right to feel hurt by it.